Hello there, it's another week and this is The Chamber, the only program on television that brings you closer to your members of parliament and what happens in parliament. My name is Duke Mensah Opoku. We'll be back. The House this week had just about 4 sittings because of the public holiday that is interspersed in the other parliamentary sittings that happened this week. Well, for more on what happened with the major stories, of course, around the referendum and others, let's go for the recap.
The Attorney General has successfully withdrawn the Amendment Bills 2018 that sought to alter Articles 55.3 and 2431 of the Constitution. This follows a directive by the President after he suspended the December 17 referendum due to what he calls the lack of a national consensus on the vote that sought to make district-level elections partisan.
Mr. Speaker, I rise under Order 132 of the Standing Orders of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana and seek your leave and the leave of this august House to withdraw 1. The Constitution Amendment Bill 2018 to amend Article 55.3 of the Constitution, and 2. The Constitution Amendment Bill 2018 to amend Article 2431 of the Constitution, which were laid before this Honourable House on the 28th of May 2019 and 20th February 2019.
An extraordinary bill of this nature, which has gone through the Council of State for them to give you their advice. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by referring you to Article 1. Mr. Speaker, I'm concluding. Article 1. Mr. Speaker, may I refer you to Article 1 of the 1992 Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, Article 1 reads, and I quote, "The sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government are to be exercised in the manner and within the limits laid down in this Constitution." Mr. Speaker, with this withdrawal, we have done injustice to the sovereign, the people of Ghana, to have an opportunity to decide on this important matter of a referendum. I thank you.
Mr. Speaker, regardless of the processes, the bill for the amendment of Article 55.3 is still here in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, after the referendum, that is, if there should be, the matter is not closed. It will still have to come to Parliament for it to go through the remaining processes of enactment. That is the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, and at any stage in the process of passing, the member, in this case, the minister who introduced the bill in Parliament, is clothed with the authority to withdraw. And that is what she just cited. That is Order 132. Mr. Speaker, so for anybody, including my dear friend, in whom I'm sometimes well pleased, the minority leader, to rise up to challenge the constitutionality, I'm really taken aback by this submission, which is very, very outlandish.
I've listened to the leaders in guiding myself whether there was anything barring me from granting leave to withdraw their application. I'm satisfied that nothing bars me from granting the leave asked for by the Attorney General, and I so grant leave to withdraw the bill.
But the minority in Parliament, which has campaigned for a no vote, is accusing the President of usurping the powers of the Electoral Commission. At a press conference, the minority leader said the President's action was a breach of the Constitution, calling it unacceptable.
let me state without fear of contradiction that President Nana Addo Dankwa is not the Electoral Commission of Ghana and has no mandate whatsoever. Neither is he clothed with any mandate as executive president to interfere with the work of the Electoral Commission. And I refer you to Article 46 of the Constitution. Except as provided in this Constitution or in any other law, not inconsistent with this Constitution, in the performance of its functions, the Electoral Commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any person or authority. Therefore, we find his unilateral usurpation of the powers of the EC in withdrawing the referendum question unacceptable.
The Bank of Ghana on Friday, the 29th of November, announced the introduction of new Citi notes and a coin. A couple of reasons were given by the central bank governor, but the minority says the decision is unjustifiable. They want the governor summoned to provide further answers to Parliament. Haruna Idrisu is the minority leader.
We hope the amount of revenue to be raised as synergy will not be used for purposes of funding the MPP campaign and their projects in the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. We think that the central bank must be stopped immediately. What happened to the amount of money the Bank of Ghana made from issuing the upgraded currency in May this year? These are questions we are demanding as a minority. When they upgraded the currency in May, what did they use the revenue which accompanied it for? The governor must account properly to the people of Ghana on this transaction as well, and this we demand. We shall in the coming days be initiating steps to summon the governor of the Bank of Ghana to appear before the House and present a detailed report on the exercise, which must include the total cost incurred, cost of each note compared to its face value, the utilization of the senerage revenue to be raised, and the quantity of each note ordered.
He also had questions about the Pualugu multipurpose dam, which was commenced recently after the president cut sword.
So if the contest now is about we are the first, compare foreign direct investment of $7 billion to an unaccounted for budgetary allocation of 993 million. We are further demanding that how was the procurement for that contract done? Which process did it go through? Who is the contractor? And we fear as a minority, we don't want to be affected with debt.
Regarding the debt in the energy sector, which caused a protest from GRIDCO workers on Tuesday, a Deputy Minister of Energy in charge of Finance and Infrastructure, Joseph Kujo, says the Ministry of Finance will soon settle the debts.
So to the President, it is very key issue. That's why he has ordered Ministry of Finance to give GRIDCO that respite. When it comes to when, I think it is the reason why the workers are in that red band. If I have the answer, it is going to be this evening, I would have told you. But Ministry of Finance is dealing with it because, you know, it has a program. Ministry of Finance has a program to issue ESLA bonds and use the proceeds to settle the legacy debts and then fix GRIDCO's problem. Exactly.
But former Energy Minister Emmanuel Amakufibua says the current administration has mismanaged the energy sector.
And so when this government came, we advised them, how do we impose tax on the people of Ghana? Because there's so much debt. And then you come and say you've promised to reduce electricity. And now, so I'm going to reduce before I increase. So you reduce, and then we were engulfed in debt, and then you now jacked it up, and we've not been able to raise enough to basically catch up where we are. So, you see, the problems we are facing are real.
The Minister of Food and Agriculture was on the floor to make a statement about the celebration of Farmers' Day.
As a matter of information, I would like to share with you the fact that for the first time in a very long time in the history of public policy on agriculture in Ghana, the budget allocated to agriculture, both in my ministry and other related ministries, exceeded 10% of the total allocations of the budget for 2019. This is a very commendable and historic achievement, and it coincides with the objective of the Maputo...
Honourable Minister, you read from your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The facts are many.
That is the rule of this honourable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To conclude, Mr. Speaker.
And I have a copy of your statement right here.
Thank you. To conclude, Mr. Speaker, government is repositioning agriculture to play its expected role as a driving force of the country's economic growth.
The Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu bemoaned the state of the agribusiness value chain in the country.
Mr. Speaker, as we are speaking today, in the northern region, there is not available up to 5 strong motorable combined harvesters in the whole of northern region. The farmers are scrambling, just looking for an opportunity for a combined harvester to be able to harvest rice. I've heard, Minister, you've made a pronouncement on government determination to end importation of rice. It remains unacceptable to us collectively as a country that every year we spend $450 million on rice importation. Whilst we want to respect trade protocols with WTO, with ECOWAS and others, what is it that we are doing to increase domestic rice production? Even as you talk about the buffer stock and others, it's not enough. Mr. Speaker, I've had an experience where in a particular year, I do rice and groundnut farming sometimes. When we harvested the rice, it took me 1 year to be able to sell until Avanage came and picked and choose just a few, and the rest they were not interested in those particular species.
Later, the Speaker, Professor Michael Quay, held a forum regarding the quest to institutionalize Private Members Bill. Legal luminary Nana Dr. SKB Asante indicated that there were no constitutional constraints to the proposal at hand. So the House is still largely waiting for the budget estimates to filter in so that they can do their work. So quite an uneventful week on the floor of the House, apart from just the first day. We'll be back after this break. This is The Chamber. Stay with us. Welcome back from that break. Well, the defining moment for this week in Parliament was the withdrawal of 2 bills from the President, actually done by the Attorney General and the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, regarding the aborted December 17th referendum, and also regarding another bill that was supposed to make or amend Article 243 of the Constitution and make the election of MMDCs possible. Currently, it's not possible. So it's going to amend the process. Let me take you onto the floor of the House from the floor segment to show you what really happened in detail on the floor of the House, and then later we speak to some members of Parliament who are well vexed in the law and the Constitution on the processes that unfolded. This is from the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I rise under Order 132 of the Standing Orders of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana and seek your leave and the leave of this august House to withdraw 1, the Constitution Amendment Bill 2018 to amend Article 55(3) of the Constitution, and 2, the Constitution Amendment Bill 2018 to amend Article 2431 of the Constitution, which were laid before this Honourable House on the 28th of May 2019 and 20th February 2019.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I've heard the learned Attorney General invoke Standing Order 132. Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, it reads, either before the commencement of public business or at the commencement of any stage of a bill, the member in charge of the bill may make a motion without notice for its withdrawal. Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court has ruled that we are masters of our own procedures. But, Mr. Speaker, whilst we appreciate what she has done, which is within her power, first of all, as I heard the President yesterday, he said he has directed Minister for Local Government, not Attorney General. But, Mr. Speaker, the Minister is here, she seconded the motion. But, Mr. Speaker, we will respect presidential directives. Mr. Speaker, my view is that I'm holding CI 120, a constitutional instrument, referendum approval of bill to amend Article 55 of the Constitution Regulations 2019. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, even as she initiates this process, it will only be lawful and legitimate that this House takes the appropriate legal processes to annul this. But, Mr. Speaker, my worry is that neither the President nor a minister is vested with the power under Article 45 and 46 of the Constitution. The matter is now before the Electoral Commission of Ghana, which shall not be subject to the direction and control of any person, including the President. I hope there is not a usurpation of the mandate of the Electoral Commission. Mr. Speaker, the appropriate forum to question this matter, I know, will be the Supreme Court. We will think through this process. But, Mr. Speaker, to remind that amendment to Article 55(3) and 2431, consistent with Article 190 and 191 of the Constitution, is not ordinary. Article 290 and Article 291, table of this to do the appropriate correction. It's not ordinary. An ordinary bill is ordinary. But an extraordinary bill of this nature, which has gone through the Council of State for them to give you the advice. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by referring you to Article 1. Mr. Speaker, I'm concluding. Article 1. Mr. Speaker, may I refer you to Article 1 of the 1992 Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, Article 1 reads, and I quote, "The sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government are to be exercised in the manner and within the limits laid down in this Constitution." Mr. Speaker, with this withdrawal, we have done injustice to the sovereign, the people of Ghana, to have an opportunity to decide on this important matter of a referendum. I thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I was just saying. I was just saying that when normal bills are introduced in this House, they are referred to the appropriate committee. Mr. Speaker, for the non-entrenched provisions, when they are read in this House for the first time, they are referred to the Council of State. They are referred to the Council of State. That is captured by Article 2912. The Speaker, for entrenched provisions, after they come and get introduced in this House, they are referred to the Electoral Commission for the conduct of a referendum. The Speaker, the purpose of the referendum is not to amend the law. The purpose of the referendum is not to amend the law, but to give Parliament the go-ahead to pass or not to pass the bill. That is it. That is it. And people are confusing the purpose of the referendum. The purpose of the referendum is not to amend the law, but to give Parliament the power to pass the bill that is before us. That is what we are doing. That exactly is what we are doing. So, Mr. Speaker, regardless of the processes, the bill for the amendment of Article 55(3) is still here in Parliament. The Speaker, after the referendum, that is, if there should be, the matter is not closed, it will still have to come to Parliament for it to go through the remaining processes of enactment. That is the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, and at any stage in the passage, in the process of passing, the member, in this case, the minister who introduced the bill in Parliament, is clothed with the authority to withdraw. And that is what she just cited. That is Order 132. Mr. Speaker, so for anybody, including my dear friend, in whom I'm sometimes well pleased, the minority leader, to rise up to challenge the constitutionality, I'm really taken aback by this submission, which is very, very outlandish with respect to the minority leader. That's not relevant at all to do with what we are doing here. So the Attorney General is very right to do what he's doing. Mr. Speaker, no bill is passed by this House until it has passed through the consideration stage. In fact, all other stages, Order 133 so provides. We're not even there yet. So at any time, at any process of the bill, or before the commencement of public business, the person shepherding the bill has the authority to withdraw it, which is what he has done. So, Mr. Speaker, nothing untoward has been done. The Attorney General knows what she's doing, and indeed, she's clothed with the constitutional remit and authority to do that. And if anybody is not satisfied and want to proceed further, certainly that person will be shown the path of unrighteousness. But you come back. You come back. What she's done is right, and the House is with her. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much.
I've listened to the leaders in guiding myself whether there was anything barring me from granting leave to withdraw their application. I'm satisfied that nothing bars me from granting the leave asked for by the Attorney General, and I so grant leave to withdraw the bill.
The President has acted unconstitutionally and illegally.
Why?
Because Article 243 requires compliance with the procedure. It is not a normal bill. It's a bill to amend the Constitution. It's a bill that requires 2/3 amendments. And when a bill affecting the Constitution, or when a bill intended to amend the Constitution is laid in Parliament, procedural requirements stipulate that the bill should be forwarded to the Council of State for advice. And in the Article 243, the bill was forwarded to the Council of State for advice. The Council of State advised positively. And so the process had been complied with. So now it was Parliament that had to ensure that the bill was amended through compromise and consensus. With Article, and so it cannot be withdrawn. You have to let the processes go through to have a feel of the manifest will of Parliament.
But the chair stated otherwise, that it can be withdrawn at any time,
Well,
like any other bill.
Well, it's not like any other bill. Article 11 gives you an impression of the hierarchy of norms in this country. The Constitution is the basic law of this country. That's why when you introduce a bill in Parliament, which bill is inconsistent with the Constitution, that bill, to the extent of the inconsistency, is declared what? Null and void. So you can't be treating a bill to amend the Constitution like any other bill. I mean, that is totally wrong. Two, when the procedure has been complied with and an advice given, what is the President withdrawing? Is it the advice or the bill? Because it has been complied with. But more serious is the referendum. Article 55(3) prohibits political parties from engaging in politics, engaging in the district level elections, or even local government elections. Article 55 is an entrenched provision. Being so, the Constitution enjoins the entire voting population of the people of Ghana to express a will as to whether or not they want that provision amended. In the amendment of Article 55(3), the President, Parliament, the judiciary share the same rights with the trot driver at New Plant Station in determining whether they want that bill amended. It is not the exclusive right of Parliament or the President to amend same. Article 55(3) was laid in Parliament pursuant to Article 293. It was referred to the Council of State pursuant to Article 294. When the decision of the Council of State came, that decision was transmitted to the Electoral Commission. And the Electoral Commission, satisfied with the decision of the Council of State and the proposed amendment, started the process of amendment. A CI has been laid in Parliament to that effect. The Constitution says that in the performance of its functions, the Electoral Commission is not subject to the control or direction of anybody. So is the President directing the Electoral Commission to stop? And what the President has done has introduced uncertainty into the amendment procedure.
So what is the way forward?
The way forward is the confusion that we have been bedeviled with. And I believe that the Electoral Commission will stand its ground and tell the President that it can't interfere in the process. And the grievous problem I see is the impunity with which the President has acted. Who has told the President that amending Article 55(3) requires a compromise? Who has told him? Because it's not a compromise, it's a question. And I have no doubt in my mind that in this particular case, the President is wrong. I have no doubts.
First of all, why has the President done this? The President has done this because at the end of the day, we are all beginning to realize that if we went to the referendum, it was possible that the yes will not win. And when you see a defeat staring at your fate, it is prudent and wise that you don't let the defeat strike you, but you rather have to take a step backwards and deal with the defeat before the defeat hits you.
I'm arguing about the cost implication then.
Yeah, the cost implication, yes, as for democracy is expensive. We all do know that if we want to run a constitutional democracy and run it well, then of course it's expensive. We can't remember that some time ago a member of parliament took the Electoral Commission to court when the Electoral Commission wanted to conduct a district assembly elections. And based on certain constitutional infractions that that member of parliament thought were blatant, and the Supreme Court, despite the pendency of the district assembly elections, then decided that the holding of the district assembly elections at that particular time would have been unconstitutional, and it was declared unconstitutional. At that particular moment, plans were far advanced for the holding of that district assembly election. But because the Supreme Court had made a pronouncement on it, everything had to be halted. So as for money, yes, there is cost implication so far as the cancellation is concerned. But whose fault is it? At all material times, the belief had been that the minority in opposition, the minority in parliament, and then the minority party had agreed in principle that district assembly elections should be done on partisan basis. And that is the genesis of the whole thing. In fact, when my committee, or the Committee on Constitutional and Legal, of which I'm the chairman, when we met to deliberate on Article 2431, of course, committee comprises both minority and then majority members. We met the Attorney General and then we met the local government minister. When we were deliberating on Article 2431, in the course of the deliberation, an issue of Article 55(3) even cropped up. And we all agreed that, in principle, Article 55(3) had to be amended. And of course, when the debate on Article 2431 was even triggered on the floor of Parliament, when we came for the second reading, the voting proceedings have well captured the debate that went on in respect of the submissions made by the minority leader, in respect of the submissions made by my ranking, and they all agreed, because in their submissions they did allude to the fact that the time had come for district assembly elections to be run on partisan basis. And even subsequently, IDEC also met us. IDEC met the leadership of the two parties in Parliament. Chairman Sabonsu was there, Haruna Idrisu was there, Muntaka was there, my ranking was there, I myself was also present, and other few members of Parliament, and it was discussed. And the impression and the thinking and the narrative was that the time had come for district assembly elections to be run on partisan basis, and 2431 also had to be amended. That was the thinking. That was the impression that we all had. So if at the end of the day there is this sudden U-turn, and realizing that you cannot meet the constitutional requirement that 40% turnout and then 75% voting yes, then you cannot, but of course, backtrack, probably engage more, do broader consultation, and subsequently bring it back for our consideration. I think it is on the basis of this that the president is saying that it should be withdrawn. And I've also listened to arguments being made by a cross-section of the population that the president doesn't have the power to do that. I completely differ, because Article 55(3), so that is where the argument is. Because once the argument is that once the thing is due for referendum, you cannot withdraw it. It can be withdrawn because the whole process was triggered by a bill. It was a bill that was brought to Parliament, referred to, given to the Speaker of Parliament, and the Speaker referred the bill to the Council of State. It was gazetted, and it was to be decided in the referendum, and now the decision is that it has to be withdrawn. To the extent that the referendum has not taken place at this material moment, that the bill has not yet crystallized, it can be withdrawn, just like any other ordinary bill.
I must say that both sides of the argument sound very convincing. I would wish that this matter is tested in the courts. We as members of Parliament have some precedents where bills that are introduced are withdrawn by those who came too late and who started the process. So there is some precedence and there's some compelling argument that both sides are making. But I would say that these are matters bordering on jurisprudence and, constitutionalism. And I will prefer that a public-spirited citizen will approach the courts for a determination of this matter. But I must say that at a personal level, I was looking forward to Article 243 materializing so that we can elect MMDCs. You see, it's a separate issue. This has been the confusion that from day one, the president and his acolytes kept, poisoning the atmosphere, creating the impression as though Article 55, the referendum, is giving the people power to elect DCs. Article 55 had nothing to do with electing DCs. It's about the partisanship that they were seeking to infuse in that election. And it's really a shame that the president has withdrawn both when withdrawing the referendum could have been done without touching the Article 243 process at all. You didn't need to touch the Article 243 process. So, compelling arguments on both sides. Let somebody approach the courts, let the courts determine, and let it enrich jurisprudence moving forward. I must also indicate that so far in all of this, we in this House, members of Parliament, have not been told how much the referendum cost this country, how much has been spent so far. In the spirit of transparency and accountability, it is imperative that we are told how much has been expended so far. Is the taxpayers' money? We ought to know. Then it is also important that the government announces steps they have taken to, as it were, save the taxpayer any further costs. Because I am aware of printing contracts, for example, that have been awarded. I'm aware of some other contracts that are incidental, that are auxiliary to this whole referendum agenda. And we need to be told what is the state of that. I mean, isn't it surprising that many hours after the president announced the cancellation of the referendum, GTV, for example, was still running adverts the whole of last night, running adverts on this referendum. What steps are being taken to protect the purse and save the taxpayer any further cost? Are there going to be judgment debts to the extent that contracts have been printing contracts have been awarded and all of that? Or are they paying for it? That's why we need full financial disclosure. We must know. And this should be a lesson. This is needless financial loss to the state. When the figure is published, I can assume quite rightfully that it will be quite a huge sum, which could have helped in addressing our needs, our roads, the challenges we had with commuting on our roads, which are in terrible shape, the state of education, which now has brought upon us double track because we don't have adequate facilities. We have priorities that we need to address, and we should not be engaging in these wasteful endeavors, which could totally have been avoided. And that is why I think that this whole episode is really an embarrassment to President Akufo-Addo, and he should not have visited this upon the nation.
So the Constitution provides in Article 108 that the President who submits bills. So he is saying that I sent the minister to bring the bill. And I thought that where we are, if it's an amendment to a constitution that the whole country has voted on, if we want to amend portions of it, we should get the whole nation behind us. Right? And he's worried about the treachery and hypocrisy being displayed by my colleagues. Why do I use such strong words? I mean, it's hypocritical. Because we have been together in all this. IDEG brokered a meeting involving the minority, the MPP and the NDC in Kempiski. When we went there, we were looking at not 55.3. We were looking at 243, 1 and 2, and I even suggested that it's not only 243. We have to look at 242, we have to look at 246, we have to look at 248, we have to look at 249. So when we met at Kempiski, it was just the sequencing. So what do? Do we bring forward these ones that we have identified and amend them before the referendum? But then I said, okay, if we did, and then there's a no vote in the referendum, what it means is that many of them will have to go back then and reinstate them. So better wait until the outcome of the referendum, and then we'll put everything in one basket and do the amendments. And we all agreed. And the resolution that we did at Kempiski was that, we agree that the information out there on the referendum is still very low-keyed. So we agreed, as part of the resolution, that the minority leader and I were going to be together on the same platform, going from regional capital to regional capital, announcing that people should vote yes. It's part of the resolution. It was a Friday. Then the following week you do a U-turn. Is that not hypocrisy? And these people want to be taken seriously to govern this country when we can lie through your teeth. And Yile Chire then comes to tell us that, and he was part of that meeting. He was sitting there. That day, Yile Chire was there, Fuseni was there, and who else? Ayarega, Muntaka, Haruna. Haruna had to attend a funeral in the Yendi. So he left us midstream. But the agreement was that this is the way forward. Friday, then the following week you do a U-turn and you have the audacity to come and stand in parliament that we're pulling a fast one on you. We're only tricking you. And we want, as politicians, to be taken serious by this country. If this is not hypocrisy and treachery, what else is?
You know me too well. And I've seen them refer to 29th July Hansard. They can further refer to other pages of the Hansard I'll share with you. But let it be reported that if President Nana Addo Dankwa had consulted me, Haruna Idrisu, as minority leader, he certainly would not have come to Parliament only with an amendment to Article 2431 of the Constitution. Yes. That is inadequate, that is insufficient, that is not exhaustive enough. And it is only in the course of that debate that we drew attention to the fact that if you are seeking an amendment, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, distinguish three issues. We can have a partisan district assembly system, and we can have a non-partisan district assembly system, and you still can have elections conducted within a non-partisan district assembly system. Yeah. Our attention was drawn to the president that Article 243, and for your purposes, let me quote, which is the only one he introduced in Parliament. It was to seek an amendment, and I'm quoting, on district chief executive. So he said that there shall be a district chief executive for every district who shall be appointed by the president. So fine, he has introduced this. He's done well. But what he forgot to do was that he was not amending Article 2433. So the removal, who removes? The electorate will elect and the president can fire. Indeed, if you go to 248, and to be fair to the Parliamentary Committee on Constitutional Legal, they had captured that in their report. It was also my view that Article 248 comprehensively should have been amended. And it reads, a candidate seeking elections to a district assembly or any lower local government unit shall present himself to the electorate as an individual and shall not use any symbol associated with any political party. So if you are sincere and religious to partisan participation, how come that he introduced Article 2431 without touching on 248, which is germane to political party participation in a partisan district assembly election system? Let any of you walk the corridor of the Ministry of Local Government and the Attorney General and show me copies of any genuine intention by the president to get political parties interested, because this is at the heart of getting political parties. So there is lack of candor and lack of sincerity. It is true that subsequent to the debate on Article 243, there was engagement and consultation to build national consensus. We will not, as NDC, as a minority, build a consensus on a betrayal of the tenets of the letter and principle of the 1992 Constitution.
So surely, what happened this week would obviously be one of the landmarks in terms of history for this 7th Parliament. That was what we served you from the floor on the chamber. We'll take a break here. When I come back, there are other segments that will roll out for you. Welcome back from that break. This is Duke's View. Today I have just two issues that I want to address briefly as part of this segment of the show. First has got to do with what has actually defined this week's parliamentary sittings, or this week's group of sittings. It has got to do with the referendum. Over the last weekend, President Akufo-Addo, with his powers, withdrew 2 critical bills in Parliament. One, to make the election of MMDCs possible. That is the elective principle. And then the other, which was contemplating a referendum to ensure that Ghanaians actually decide whether they want MMDCs elected on partisan lines or not. So these are the 2 bills which were in Parliament, and they were withdrawn on the first day of sitting for this week, which was Monday, by the Attorney General. It was seconded by the local government minister. Of course, I'm sure by now you've kept yourself abreast with the issues as they unfolded on the floor of Parliament this week. But here is the issue. You would notice that the minority served notice that they disagreed with that. They felt that it was wrong. Government or the president didn't have the powers to do what he did, to have withdrawn the bill. The president acted not in their view, not within the confines or within the constraints of the laws of Ghana. Well, I think that this is where I throw the challenge to Parliament and to every member of Parliament who feels that the president did not act well within the laws, that to expand the frontiers of our jurisprudence. I think the court is the forum to settle all of this. I was expecting the minority leader, after making those comments at that press conference, to go ahead and say, well, we are going to court to seek constitutional interpretation, or to seek interpretation from the Supreme Court on this matter, so that it is brought to a finality or to a closure once and for all. We've heard private legal practitioners like John Indebugri and the others indicates that what the president did, or in fact, the arguments were that the president did not even have the power to halt the process that had already been set into motion. The Honorable Haruna Idrisu himself, the minority leader, also has had cause to make that argument earlier on. But I'm saying that just to put all of these matters to rest, the president says the referendum has been put on hold. He's withdrawing all the 2. Personally, I think that one could have been done without the other, because, of course, when it comes to elective principle and when it comes to all of that, all Ghanaians agree that it will be a deeper, it will be better in charting deeper waters for our democracy to have our MMDC selected. So the president could have withdrawn, the referendum bill question without necessarily withdrawing the other for the elective principle. By the way, that's the president's decision, and he's taking that, even though it was a campaign promise. But on the parliamentary front, I think a member of parliament should take it up, go to the Supreme Court, and get constitutional interpretation for us to bring this matter to an end once and for all. That takes me to another issue on the floor of Parliament, which has actually been articulated by the Speaker for some time now. During his swearing in, the good old Reverend Professor Michael Quay, he's a jurist himself, a lawyer par excellence. He's a political science, lecturer of many years, standing scholar for that matter. Now, one of the things that he articulated in his inaugural speech in Parliament in 2017, January, for that matter, was the fact that he wanted to introduce private members' bills. Most of the bills, as at now, all the bills that are worked on in Parliament are introduced by the executive. Sponsored by the executive, the minister, and it's worked on and it's passed and all of that. But he wants a situation where individual MPs, on their own merit, can research into issues, bring up societal matters, coin them with the help, of course, of the experts into laws that will be debated or that will be scrutinized and promulgated on the floor of the House. That's a good idea. Everybody spoke about it. For some time now, the Speaker has been holding, various stakeholder fora. Last week was with the senior editors, GJ and others. This week he's been with other civil society groups and all of that. But here is the catch. I'm demanding concrete actions, concrete steps. The Speaker should be able to tell us the work that has been done now. He tells us that about 5 of them are already ready, if I may put it that way, from some members of Parliament or on the Public Order Amendment Bill, one on the budget being sponsored by the Honorable Bagbin, one on assistive reproductive technology being sponsored by the Honorable Samoku Jeto Blackwineries. These are beautiful laws. I've seen them. I think that we should have concrete steps. What is the roadmap towards actualizing this private members bill so that we can fill this critical or key void in our legislative process in the country? It's a good idea, but as at now, there's too much talk shop around it. We need a concrete roadmap with steps and with timelines so that we can track when the first private members bill will be done at the first reading stage on the floor of Parliament, and then we can follow its process to when it's going to be passed into a law. This is my view for the week. And that's how we wrap up the chamber right here on Citi TV. It's your only show on TV that brings you all you need to know about the House of Legislature, that's Parliament. For now, we would say goodbye and keep watching Citi TV. Enjoy the rest of our program.